Hello Pisces, Elsie here to do your reading. It is for the week ahead. How you doing, Pisces? Welcome to the weekend. I am throwing this on the weekend, but of course this is for the week ahead and whenever you get this, really, whether it's today, tomorrow, or next year, because we're not all at the same place in our lives, right? So I could be reading for you this week and maybe I'm not. But I'm here with this oracle deck. It is the Places Oracle, and we're going to get what we can from this for the overall energy for the week ahead. And that's how I'm always reading for the week ahead, no matter when you get this. And then we're going to throw some tarot at it and find out what's going on, Pisces, my water family. And you are my two fishes, friends. Let's find out what's going on for you. And look, at the end of this video, if you're interested in private reads or you're interested in knowing where the extension is, how to get the extension, I will talk about that as well. Let's find out what's going on for Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. The water family, tell me about Pisces. We've got the cemetery. So the resting place is here. It says memory. Is that what it says? Oh, memorial stones here. Oh, something is gone, Pisces. And I feel that although you will remember it, there's a marker in your life. This is a marker about when this thing died or when it was done. It doesn't feel, well, I mean, it could be about a person, but it feels like you're coming to this place where you are at an elevation now in your life, a vibrational elevation, where you now have perspective on why this thing had to go or had to be done, or why you couldn't take it into the future. We do have, it says nature's grandeur. And we have somebody standing on the top of the mountain. So I want to say that whatever you've gone through has been a long, overwhelming, and arduous climb to the top, where you finally have the elevation at which you can get the perspective on why you had to leave something in the cemetery, why you could not move forward with whatever this is. It could be a person, place, thing, situation, relationship possibly, but it says here that you have marked it with a memorial stone. So I don't think you want to forget it, but you are acknowledging that it is done. It's over. And this long, hard path, or this long, hard climb to perspective to get this new elevation, I feel your climb is over. You're about to get to see something from the top of the mountain. We've got the laboratory, a place where you're going to be looking it over with great clarity here. It says scientific research, experiments and analysis, innovation and invention. So I feel like this is what you gain at the top of the mountain. The perspective that you gain here is this. You now have conquered something through a thought pattern, through learning something. When you're in the laboratory, it's because you're trying to prove a hypothesis, right? You assume something's going on, but it's in the laboratory that you actually get the scientific data which proves your hypothesis. So I feel like you assumed something, or there was something that maybe you felt, maybe it was in your intuition, Pisces, maybe it was in your intuition, but the scientific research here, I feel like you can't ignore what the scientific research says. I feel like that you had a lot of experimentation, that there was a lot of analysis, and now when you go back and you look at all the data, that you realize that whatever went on here was the invention that's taking you into the future. We've got the workplace. We could be talking about the workplace. It could be that you are finally getting a perspective on why you didn't get the raise or the kudos or the it feels like there's a reason that you didn't get what you wanted to get out of this situation. And I feel like it was because you were supposed to move on or something better was coming along. Bottom of the deck, we have a government building, we have public services, administrative agencies, and we have the bench. Rest, relaxation, seating, comfort, pause, and ponder. So I feel like you're kind of looking back into the past here, and you're realizing that even though you may have wanted to be in the productive environment, maybe you wanted to be in the creative zone or the technology hub, it feels like this is not the place where you were supposed to be. You weren't supposed to be in a place where it was going to be so much work. I feel like when we are moving in the right directions, things get a little bit easier. And I think that from the data, you're going to realize from the top of the mountain here that whatever had to go away, whatever had to leave your path, maybe something that you held on to, it feels like there was something here that had to leave your path in order for you to see the details and the scientific research come together to prove a point. That's what it feels like here. Tell me about the cemetery, please. So something here is gone. It's the past, or it could be a relationship, it could be a job. Something here is in the past, and it's finally at its resting place. And it's because you didn't need it. This is the Death card, right? It's transformational. Something left your life and it transformed everything. And I don't think you knew why it had to go until you got to the top of the mountain. We've got the Three of Swords. There it is. Yeah, this was a very painful, hurtful, heartbreaking situation. It feels like it was emotionally hard. It was mentally hard. And this may have been a relationship. This could be a marriage. It feels like something here left your life in the past. It could be a person. They don't have to have lost their life, but understand the cemetery is the place where we lay things to rest, right? We want to put a memorial stone and mark it as a marker in our life, but we're going to move on from there. We've got the Six of Wands. I really love that because when the Six of Wands is here, the sun is shining. That's Leo energy, right? The sun is shining, or the spotlight is on somebody here. And I feel like this dark card is telling me, you know, the Six of Wands is sort of finally coming out of the dark night of the soul. This person's coming back from the war, coming back from the fight. It was a real fight to get here. It feels like it was a real fight to get to the top of this mountain, and so you could have perspective. The person who's on their high horse, although it can be a place of a little bit of ego, is somebody who has a better perspective on things than everyone else around them, because everyone else around them is at street level or on ground level. They can see above the heads of everybody else. So I think that you get perspective from there and from the elevation that you're at, and you can see things that no one else could see before. You also see things that you couldn't see before, and now when you look back, you're like, oh, I get it. Tell me what you find out in the laboratory here. We've got the Lovers here. So I feel like something was pulled out of your path, and although I feel like you hung on to it for dear life, that it was taken from you, and I think it did break your heart. It probably put you into a dark night of the soul, probably like drove you to your knees. But I feel as though when you finally got up, and this is bravery, right? We finally got up and were brave enough to continue our climb up the mountain here. It feels like that's where you get your perspective. That the reason that the hypothesis, the reason that you didn't figure out what was going on in all of that data that you had is because it wasn't for you. You weren't supposed to see the answer. But now that the laboratory is here, now we've done the scientific research. Now there is innovation. Now there is invention. And I feel like the Lovers here is you chose to finally see it for what it is. This to me is air energy. The laboratory, this is up in the head, right? So this is Aquarius, Libra, Gemini energy. This is Gemini energy here. And so it feels like you finally did your experiments, and now you've got the analysis. The analysis is, I wasn't supposed to be with that person or that situation or in that job. You may have been fired, and maybe it was a terrible situation and it put you in a horrifying, terrible place financially. But I feel like now that you're in the clear, or that you've chosen something different, that we could be talking about a relationship, that could be talking about money, material things, material wealth, or 3D things. It feels like now you have a clearer idea of why things went down the way they did. Tell me about the cemetery and the Three of Swords. What was lost here? Tell me about Pisces. What was lost here? We've got the Ace of Cups. Yeah, we've got the Two of Pentacles in the reverse, and we've got the Seven of Pentacles. So it does feel like there was love that was lost here. But it feels like it was something that didn't last very long. It feels like it was something that you had a hard time letting go of. It does feel like it was true love, though, I'm just going to say, with the Ace of Cups being here. The Two of Pentacles in the reverse tells me that when this broke down or broke away, or maybe you got laid off or fired or whatever it is, and even though you may have been the hardest worker, the person who produced the most, the person who was always working so very hard that they might have let you go because you were the least senior. It could be a job that we're talking about. I feel like this is the reason that you have the stability that you have right now. So the Ace of Cups tells me it was something that you really loved. And I feel like you were let go or pushed out. But we've got 7 and 2 Pentacles, which is 9. I feel like the 7 is here and you're like, but I worked really hard. And now I've got to throw my seeds in a different direction. And I've got to try and nurture whatever this is and try and get my stability again. But I feel like it could have been an impact to you financially. It could have been an impact to you in the direction that you were going, maybe in your career. But for some of you, it does feel like this is probably a lost relationship. It feels like somebody ended it with you. And I feel like you didn't know why, because you were the one that was constantly putting in the most effort, energy, time, money. It feels like you were the one that stabilized the whole thing, and that may have been the problem. I'm just going to say that maybe you didn't leave much for the other person to do. So they felt like you took care of everything. Like maybe when they felt like when they stayed with you or lived with you that they were in a hotel, that you were taking care of the laundry and the clothing and the meals and it feels like you were doing all of the things and they were doing nothing. And honestly, that can become quite a boring situation when someone feels like they're not being useful in their relationship. But it does feel like it was not meant to devastate your life, but I think that's maybe the way you took it here. We have the Devil energy. We have the Magician. And we have the Queen of Wands. Look, I feel like you see something from in the midweek. It feels like next week in the midweek. And as you look back to the past here, I want to say that when the Devil and the Magician come up together, it's never a good thing. It always gives me this feeling of somebody was manipulating you. Somebody was manipulating you through toxic codependency. And I don't think that you saw it. I think that you mistook it for that somebody wanted to stay in your life, but I think that they were using you for whatever you could give them. Time, effort, energy, and money. You were putting in all the effort and the time. But I feel like you waited there. You waited there because I feel like you felt okay doing what you were doing. But it does feel like the reason that this person, situation, job, whatever it wasn't for you. It was a manipulation. The Queen of Wands is here, and I feel like what you learned from the situation, Pisces, is how to be independent, is how to be resilient, is that no matter what kind of fire is started around you, that you can walk through the fire and sit right on the throne. I feel like you did stumble, you did fall, but once you got your clarity, once you got to the laboratory, right? Once you got to this kind of clarity and balance here, you realized that closing the door was worth it. Losing it was worth it because look at this. Look where it grew you to. We've got 3 queens here, right? The only queen that we're looking at that we don't have here right now is the Queen of Cups, and that might be because you haven't quite healed emotionally yet. But I feel like this whole situation was to grow you into the Empress, is what it feels like here. This door was supposed to close. This chapter was not. I think that every chapter we get into, we automatically think is going to be the chapter for the rest of our lives. And I think that's the first, that we must realize that things in our life are temporary and we should enjoy them in the moment when they are there, and possibly they will last into the future forever and ever, but it's unlikely, and a lot of things don't, and that's just the truth of it. And unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but not all things are going to last forever. Regardless of whether you sign a piece of paper in marriage or whatever it is, not everything's going to last forever. I feel like whatever this was, whether it was a job or whether it was a person or a situation, it feels like it was absolutely and completely devastatingly toxic and manipulative. And I don't think that you could see at the time that you were being manipulated into some type of it's almost like this, that you had a lot of attention because you were the hard worker, and this person was sort of behind you taking the spotlight because they were with you. So I think that you projected the amazing things that you are onto them, and that's how you saw them, but I don't think that's how it was. So once you get to the top of the mountain, you start to begin to see that you were actually the big deal, that it was you that brought all of this energy, time, and effort, and fire, and all of that into the relationship or the job, that it wasn't that grand, it wasn't that great. I feel like you come to this realization, this balanced thought pattern here with Libra, this balanced thought pattern that Now that I'm at the top of the mountain, I see that it was manipulation, that I see that this person was toxic. It feels like somebody was trying to manipulate your fire, manipulate your passions. Tell me about the Lovers and the Laboratory here. We've got the Six of Pentacles, we've got the Strength card, and we've got the Faith card, or the Hierophant, for the end of the week. I feel as though this situation was holding you back from your true path. Your true path, the place where you were supposed to be structurally sound, the path you were supposed to stay on. I feel like you were pulled off the path by whatever this was. But once you got to the top of the mountain and got into the laboratory and started analyzing the situation, we can only do that when we leave the situation, right? We don't usually see it while we're in it. But it feels as though this Strength card it built your courage. It built your strength, your ability to be able to give reciprocal energy to other people and know that after you've done all of the work, the analysis, and looked it over, now you're much more careful about who you let into your life. I feel like that's a choice. We've got the Lovers here, and the Lovers is a choice, understand, and I think that you've chosen now to look forward, be on the path, be very analytical, be very innovative with the way that you think. Like, the laboratory is a place of everything is sterile. This is all facts and things that line up and things that add up. We're not just sort of living in the dream world, I would say. So I feel like you this week are reconciling something. It could be out of the workplace, possibly. It feels like you're reconciling something. You're realizing that something was being taken out of your life for a reason. It was to make you the Empress. It was to build you up and not pull you down to the ground. It feels like it was moving you out of a path of manipulation and toxicity and codependency and doubt about yourself. I feel like it was pulling you out of a path. And when you won't get off the path, the universe will pull that person off the path or help it end in some type of way. It feels like this whole situation got you back in touch with your spirituality. It maybe closed the gap between your logical side and your spiritual side. It feels like you are now far more courageous, I would say, to give reciprocal energy to other people and maybe even to find love again. I feel like you're ready to love again, possibly. If this is about the workplace, you're possibly ready to get out there. This, though, is a corporation as a structure. I feel like maybe you had the courage to build your own business. For some of you, instead of going back into the workforce, maybe you just built your own business, Pisces, and decided, I'm just not going to put myself back into a place where someone else has control over my money. I'm just going to do it myself. Because it feels like this could be, maybe you found the courage to get back into the corporation, but I feel like you end up building your own structure, your own way of doing things, and out of logic. I think this is where this comes out of logic. All right, so we're going to look at these three cards. We're going to clarify this a little bit more, find out what sort of perspective you got at the top of the mountain and what your analysis had brought you, because I feel like it took you to a place of faith, or you now have more faith in your courage to be able to deal with people in a pentacle way, not in an emotional way, because it feels like with this 6 here, we've got air and we've got pentacles. So now you're dealing with people in a very practical way instead of getting attached to them emotionally. Like, this is what you did. You got attached to this person immediately and emotionally. We're going to go to the extended. If you'd like to be there, please look at the top of the comments. There is a pinned comment which has a link to, if you'd like to buy this outright, this extension, just this one, or if you'd like to come to the membership area, there's a link there as well. If you'd like to get all of the extendeds for all of the signs or whatever signs you're watching for. And also there is a link there to Hypsee. You can go look at my pricing. I do have pre-recorded readings. I also am doing live readings. If you're interested in that, look at my timetable. We've got the Emperor. Ooh, we've got the Tower. Look at that. You know what it looks like? Yep, that's what it looks like. Remember, I was saying that you were being prepared as the Empress here, right? Whether you're feminine or masculine. I feel like this is your next step. That's what it feels like. Your next step is the Ten of Cups. And it is with your counterpart, is what it looks like here. The reason we didn't see the Queen of Cups, which we'll probably see in the extended, the reason we didn't see the Queen of Cups is because you haven't met your love yet. You haven't met your love match. But I feel like you have now leveled up to this place at the top of the mountain, and the Emperor is a person who is on the same vibrational level, or the same level. The top of the mountain can see things from the top down. The Emperor is the same, on the same level vibrationally as the Empress. So we do have the Tower. It feels like everything is shifting into the 10 of Cups for you here. We do have the 9 of Cups. Look, it's because you now have internal happiness. You've now realized that you don't need anybody externally to make you happy internally, that you're going to be happy regardless of whether you have a +1 in your life, whether you have the best job or not in your life. You've just decided you're going to be happy. You're going to be emotionally well. And so I feel like because you've decided that that's what you're going to do, yeah, feels like the Emperor's coming in. I'm going to go to the extended if you'd like to be there. I hope to see you there. And if not, that's okay. If this is where we part, I'll be back, because I'm always back. I'll be back with more readings. You take care of yourselves, Pisces. I'm going to go for now. See you there. Bye-bye.